Chapter 8. The Witch's Jealousy. The interior of the Tower of Night did not look like a fortress. It looked like a shrine. The massive iron gate slammed shut behind them with finality that echoed to the vast, vaulted chamber. The air here was cool and smelled faintly of lavender and rot, a perfume meant to mask the scent of a grave. Black marble pillars stretched up into the darkness above, carved with reliefs of vampires feasting on humans. At the far end of the hall, a grand staircase spiraled upward, bathed in the eerie glow of purple mana crystals. "It's quiet," Syra whispered, her hand tightening on the hilt of her katana. The flames on her blade sputtered, reacting to the dense, suffocating atmosphere of the tower. "Too quiet." "He knows we are here," Alice said, her voice echoing slightly in the empty space. She walked with her head held high, though Izuku noticed her hands were trembling. Nicholas always did have a flair for the dramatic. "He is waiting." "Then let us not keep him," Bahadur said, stepping forward. His steel boots clanked loudly on the polished floor. As they reached the center of the hall, the shadows beneath the staircase began to writhe. They didn't move like shadows. They moved like liquid. They coalesced, rising up to form a silhouette that stepped elegantly into the light. It was a woman. She was tall, wearing a black gothic dress that hugged her curves, with long, obsidian hair that cascaded down to her ankles like a dark waterfall. Her lips were painted a deep crimson, and her eyes were the color of amethyst. Entity, Lilith General of the first floor. Level 105, status, obsessed. "Welcome," Lilith said, performing a polite curtsy. Her voice was smooth, like velvet wrapped around a razor blade. "The master is currently indisposed on the third floor. He asked that you wait here, or preferably die here." Her gaze slid past Izuku, past Bahadur, and locked onto Alice. The polite mask cracked, revealing a flash of pure, unadulterated venom. "And you," Lilith hissed, "you actually came back. I thought you would have the decency to rot quietly in your box." Alice stopped. She looked at Lilith not with anger, but with pity. "Hello, Lilith. I see you are still playing the role of the dutiful maid. I am his general." Lilith shrieked, her hair flaring out behind her like a cobra's hood. "I am the one who stood by his side while you slept. I am the one he relies on. You are nothing but a memory, Alice, a ghost he refuses to exorcise." "He relies on you," Alice corrected softly, "because you look like me." The silence that followed was deafening. Lilith's face twisted. The beauty vanished, replaced by a mask of monstrous rage. "I am nothing like you." The floor exploded. It wasn't a bomb. It was hair. Lilith's hair shot forward, hundreds of black tendrils hardening into spikes as thick as spears. They moved faster than arrows, aiming to skew the entire party in a single strike. "Scatter!" Izuku screamed. He grabbed Alice and dove to the left, using Shadow Step to blur out of the kill zone. Syra launched herself upward, her boots igniting propel her into the air. Bahadur didn't dodge. He stepped forward, planting his feet. He swung his sword in a blurred arc of steel. Clang, clang, clang. The hair spears deflected off his blade and his D-rank breastplate. The impact forced him back a foot, digging furrows into the marble floor, but he held his ground. "Go!" Bahadur roared over his shoulder. "Get to the stairs. I will hold her. She's strong." Izuku shouted, summoning his side to deflect a stray tendril. "You can't solo her. I am the shield." Bahadur yelled back, parrying a strike that would have taken Izuku's head off. "My defense is the highest among us. If we fight together in this narrow hall, we will trip over each other. Go. I will catch up." Izuku hesitated. He looked at the massive wall of hair separating them from the stairs. He looked at Bahadur's determined back. "Trust him," Syra said, landing beside Izuku. "The paladin is tough. We need to save our strength for the upper floors." Izuku gritted his teeth. "Don't die, Bahadur. That's an order." "I haven't got permission to die yet, Izuku." Bahadur grinned. Izuku grabbed Alice's hand. "Syra, cover me. We're breaking through." Syra unleashed a wave of fire, burning a hole through the wall of hair. Izuku and Alice sprinted through the gap, dashing up the grand staircase. Lilith screamed, trying to redirect her attacks to stop them, but a beam of white light slammed into her chest, forcing her to recoil. "Eyes on me, witch," Bahadur challenged, standing alone in the center of the hall. "Your opponent is the paladin." Lilith watched the others disappear up the stairs. She turned back to Bahadur, her eyes glowing with hate. "Fine," she spat. "I will tear you apart first. Then I will mount your head on the master's wall." The battle was a storm of steel and shadow. Bahadur was level 101. Lilith was level 105. The gap in raw stats wasn't huge, but the matchup was a nightmare. Lilith didn't move from her spot. She didn't have to. Her hair controlled the entire battlefield. It lashed out from the floor, the walls, the ceiling. It formed hammers to crush him, spears to pierce him, and whips to ensnare him. Bahadur moved with an efficiency born of 1,000 battles. He didn't waste movement. He parried just enough to deflect the lethal blows, letting the glancing hit spark against his armor. Slash, parry, dodge, bash. He was closing the distance, step by agonizing step. "Why do you fight for him?" Lilith asked, her voice echoing from everywhere at once. A tendril lashed out, slicing Bahadur's cheek. "You reek of holiness, of light, yet you serve a necromancer? A boy who plays with death." Bahadur grunted, ducking under a sigh-like construct of hair. "You wouldn't understand." "I understand devotion," Lilith hissed. "I understand giving everything to a master who barely looks at you. You are a hypocrite, knight. You preach justice while serving a villain." "He is not a villain," Bahadur said, slicing through a thick cluster of hair. "He is a child who was given a weapon instead of a toy, and he is trying to use it to save people." "Save people?" Lilith laughed, a high, manic sound. "He is invading a sovereign kingdom. He is helping the progenitor, the woman who abandoned us." "She didn't abandon you," Bahadur corrected, panting slightly. "She was betrayed by the man you love." Lilith froze. The hair stopped moving for a split second. "Love," she whispered. "You think I don't know he doesn't love me? You think I don't know?" The air in the room grew heavy. "Every time he looks at me," Lilith said, her voice trembling, "he sees her. He made me grow my hair long like hers. He made me wear dresses like hers. He made me learn her mannerisms. I am not his lover. I am his doll." She looked at Bahadur, tears of black ichor streaming down her face. "But if I kill her, if I wipe Alice from existence, then he will have to look at me. He will have no choice but to see Lilith." The hair exploded outward. It wasn't a coordinated attack this time. It was a chaotic, emotional outburst. Thousands of needles shot through the air. Bahadur raised his sword, but there were too many. Thud, thud, thud. Needles pierced his arms, his legs, his shoulders. Bahadur staggered. "My body, why is it so heavy?" he gasped. I can't move." Bahadur fell to one knee. His limbs felt like they were made of lead. The poison burned in his veins, locking his muscles. "You see," Lilith walked toward him, her hair forming a massive executioner's blade above her head. "Devotion is pain, knight. We are both slaves to our love. But my love is stronger." Bahadur looked up. His vision was blurring. He saw the blade hovering above him. He thought of Izuku, the boy who had spent 10,000 points on gear for him instead of buying power for himself. The boy who had named their group Black Cross because he wanted them to carry the burden together. "You are wrong," Bahadur wheezed. "I am not a slave. I am a friend." He gripped his sword. His muscles screamed in protest, but he forced them to move. "And my loyalty..." Bahadur closed his eyes. He reached deep inside himself, past the mana, past the stamina, to the very core of his soul, to the divine spark that had made him a hero in his past life. "I am the light that casts no shadow. I am the shield that does not break. Divine art, sunbreaker." The air in the tower vanished. A pillar of golden light erupted from Bahadur's body. It tore through the ceiling, piercing the upper floors, blasting through the obsidian roof and into the stormy sky above. The paralysis burned away instantly. Lilith shrieked, shielding her eyes. What is this level of divinity? I am not like you, Bahadur said. He stood up, wreathed in golden fire. His eyes were pure white. And I am not just a knight. He raised a sword. The blade extended, formed a pure, solidified sunlight. It was 20 feet long. I am a morning star that heralds the dawn. He swung. Lilith tried to bring her hair up to block, but the light passed through the darkness as if it weren't there. The blade bisected the room. It cut through the pillars. It cut through the hair. It cut through Lilith. There was no blood. The heat of the attack vaporized her instantly. Nicholas, Lilith whispered, her body dissolving into ash. Look at me, please. The light faded. Bahadur stood alone in the ruined hall. His armor was smoking. His skin was gray. The golden aura flickered and died. The divine strength left his body as quickly as it had come, replaced by a cold, hollow ache in his very soul. The sword slipped from his fingers, clattering to the floor. Bahadur collapsed face first onto the marble. He couldn't move. The poison was gone, but his energy was spent. He stared sideways at the grand staircase. Go, Izuku, Bahadur whispered to the empty room, his eyes sliding shut. The rest is up to you. Izuku, Alice, and Syra sprinted up the spiral stairs. They felt the tower shake. They burst through the double doors onto the second floor. If the first floor was a cathedral, the second floor was a slaughterhouse. The walls were lined with chains and hooks. Piles of bones, some human, some beast, littered the corners. In the center of the room was a fighting pit filled with sand. Standing in the pit was a giant. He was easily 7 feet tall, bald, with skin the color of bruised plums. He wore nothing but loose pants and iron gauntlets that dripped with fresh blood. Entity, Alastair, general of the second floor. Level 108. Status, hungry. Alastair turned. He smiled, revealing rows of sharpened shark-like teeth. One down. Alastair boomed, his voice shaking the dust from the ceiling. Little Lilith fell. I felt her light go out. He looked at the three of them. So, Alastair cracked his knuckles. Which one of you wants to be pulverized first? Syra stepped forward. She unclasped her cloak, letting it fall to the floor. She drew her katana, the flames igniting with a roar. Go, Syra said to Izuku. Take Alice to the top. Syra, Izuku warned. He's strong, like a tank. And I'm a blowtorch. Syra smirked, though sweat was already beading on her forehead. This guy relies on brute strength. My fire counters flesh. Besides, she looked back at Izuku. You're the only one who can deal with Silas. And Alice needs to be there for the end. I'll hold the brute. Alastair laughed. A little girl with a lighter? Come here, little morsel. Let me break your spine. Syra's eyes flared. Ignite, blue flame. The fire turned azure. Get moving, Izuku. Syra shouted, charging the giant. Izuku didn't argue. He grabbed Alice's arm, and they sprinted for the next set of stairs, leaving the Sunforged samurai to dance with the giant. 2 generals down. 1 to go. Chapter 9. The Sunforged Samurai. The second floor of the Tower of Night smelled of old blood and heated iron. It was a stark contrast to the Gothic elegance of the floor below. Here, there were no marble pillars or velvet drapes. The walls were rough-hewn obsidian, lined with rusted hooks and chains that rattled in the draft. The floor was a fighting pit filled with gray sand. Stained black in patches where gladiators or victims had fallen. Commander Syra stood alone in the center of the pit. Above her, the spiral staircase vibrated as Izuku and Alice ascended to the 3rd floor. Below her, the ground shook rhythmically, the tremors of Bahadur's battle with Lilith echoing through the stone like a heartbeat. They left you, Alastair grunted. The general of the 2nd floor cracked his neck. The sound was like a gunshot. He stood 7 feet tall, a mountain of purple muscle and scarred flesh. He wore iron gauntlets that looked heavy enough to crush a tank, and his eyes, yellow and reptilian, were fixed on Syra with a mix of amusement and hunger. They didn't leave me, Syra corrected. flicking her katana to the side to clear a speck of dust. I told him to go. There's a difference. Alastair laughed. It was a wet, guttural sound. You think you can hold me back? Little girl, I have eaten knights in armor who were bigger than you. I have snapped spines thicker than your waist. You are not a warrior. You are a snack. Syra didn't flinch. She had heard it all before. Too small, too young, too pretty to be a commander. You talk too much, Syra said. She bent her knees, lowering her center of gravity. Her mana flared. Ignite, blue flame. The orange fire wreathing her katana hissed and changed color. It shifted to a brilliant, roaring azure. The heat in the room spiked instantly. The chains on the walls began to glow cherry red. Alastair's grin widened. Fire? I like fire. It cooks the meat. He charged. For a creature of his size, he was terrifyingly fast. He crossed the fighting pit in 2 strides, raising a fist the size of a wrecking ball. Syra didn't try to block. She knew her limits. If she tried to parry that strike, her bones would shatter. She dodged. She slipped under his guard, spinning like a top. Her blade lashed out, trailing a ribbon of blue fire. Sizzle. She cut a deep gash into Alastair's thigh. The smell of burning flesh filled the air. Alastair didn't even stumble. He slammed his fist into the sand where she had been standing a microsecond ago. The impact created a shock wave that knocked Syra off balance. She rolled, coming up in a crouch 10 feet away. She looked at the wound she had inflicted. It was already closing. Smoke rose from the cut as the purple skin knit itself back together. Within seconds, there wasn't even a scar. Is that it? Alastair asked, looking at his leg. It stings, like a mosquito bite. Syra grit her teeth. Regeneration. High-speed regeneration. Just my luck. I can burn faster than you can heal, Syra promised. She attacked again. This time, she didn't stop moving. She became a blue blur, circling the giant. She slashed his tendons. She pierced his kidneys. She enveloped his head in a sphere of fire. Alastair roared, swiping blindly at the air. He looked like a bear trying to swat a wasp. Syra was landing hits, dozens of them. But for every cut she made, 2 more healed. She was burning mana to keep the blue flame active, sweat pouring down her face as the temperature in the room climbed to oven-like levels. He's not slowing down, Syra realized with a spike of panic. He's getting faster. Found you? Alastair predicted her movement. Instead of swinging where she was, he swung where she was going to be. His backhand caught her midair. Crack! The sound of her ribs breaking was louder than the fire. Syra was launched across the room. She smashed into the obsidian wall, crumpling to the floor. Her sword skittered away. She tried to inhale, but sharp, jagged pain in her chest cut her breath short. She coughed, tasting copper. Pathetic, Alastair sneered, walking slowly toward her. The humans send children to fight their wars. No wonder you are losing. Syra tried to push herself up. Her left arm trembled and gave out. You rely on tricks, Alastair lectured, towering over her. Fire, magic, speed. But in the end, flesh wins. Muscle wins. I am the pinnacle of evolution, little girl. And you are fragile. He raised his foot, ready to crush her skull. Syra stared at the boot hovering above her. Fragile. The word echoed in her mind, unlocking a door she usually kept bolted shut. It was raining the day she was promoted. She was 12 years old. She stood in the mud of the training grounds, holding a wooden sword that felt too heavy. She's a prodigy, the instructors whispered. The blood of the sun god flows in her veins. She's a glass cannon, others said. Powerful magic, but look at her. A stiff breeze would knock her over. Syra hated them. She hated the pity. She hated the expectations. She was an orphan raised by the Syndicate for one purpose, to be a weapon against the dark. They treated her like a valuable artifact, something to be polished and pointed at the enemy, but never risked. She remembered the first time she summoned the flames. It hurt. It felt like her blood was boiling. But when she burned the target dummy to ash, the instructors clapped. Good, they said, but stay back. Let the knights take the hits. You just shoot. Stay back. Hide. Be safe. She looked at the banner of the Pure Syndicate, the golden sun. It represented hope, strength, but to her, it represented a cage. I am not a cannon, Syra whispered to the rain. I am a warrior. She started training in secret. She stopped relying on ranged attacks. She picked up a katana. She learned to fight up close, where the fire could burn her as much as her enemies. She forged her body until she wasn't just a vessel for magic, but a soldier. But deep down, the fear remained. The fear that they were right. That without her fire, she was just a small, weak girl. Syra looked at Alastair's foot. No. She rolled. The stomp cracked the stone floor right where her head had been. Syra scrambled to her feet, ignoring the screaming agony in her ribs. She didn't reach for her fallen sword. She backed away, creating distance. Still moving. Alastair sounded impressed. Why? You can't win. You can't hurt me. You're right, Syra wheezed, clutching her side. Syra the commander can't hurt you. Syra the human can't hurt you. She closed her eyes. But I am not just Syra. She reached inside, past the pain, past the mana, to the burning core of her DNA, to the bloodline that had been passed down through generations of warriors who worshipped the sun. Hark! Syra shouted, her voice gaining a strange, resonant quality. O great Ra, god of the sun's rays. Alastair paused. Praying? Good. Pray to me. Lend thine ear to my humble plea. Syra continued, her eyes snapping open. They weren't pink anymore. They were gold. Molten, liquid gold. The room began to shake. Not from Alastair, and not from Badur below. It shook from the pressure, radiating off the girl in the corner. Let thy light shine down upon me, and bestow strength and vigor upon my soul. Alastair frowned. The air was getting too hot, even for him. His regeneration was slowing down, because his cells were starting to boil. Shut up. Alastair charged. With thy guidance, lead me through the netherworld. Syra didn't move. She let him come, and kindle the shadow within me. Alastair pulled back his fist for a killing blow. May your eye of Horus watch over me. The fist came down, and your ankh of life empower me. Boom. Alastair hit something, but it wasn't flesh. It felt like punching the surface of a star. He screamed, pulling his hand back. His iron gauntlet had melted. His skin was char-black. What? Alastair stumbled back, shielding his eyes from the blinding light. Standing in the corner was no longer a girl in a bodysuit. Syra floated inches off the ground. Her pink hair had turned to deep, blood-red crimson, flowing upward as if underwater. But it was her armor that stole the breath from the room. She was encased in a full suit of yoroi, ancient samurai armor, constructed entirely of solidified sunlight. The plates glowed with a divine brilliance. A disk of pure light hovered behind her head like a halo, and a serpent of fire coiled around her shoulders. She raised her hand. Her fallen katana flew from across the room, catching fire as it landed in her palm. The blade transformed, extending into a massive odachi made of white plasma. Syra looked down at Alastair through the glowing visor of her helmet. Her voice was layered, echoing with the power of a god. You called me fragile, Syra said. She took a step. The obsidian floor melted into lava beneath her boot. Let's see how durable you are against the wrath of a star. Alastair roared, fear turning into aggression. I am Alastair. I am the unbreakable wall. He slammed his hands together, his purple skin hardening, turning gray like stone. He charged, a living boulder of muscle and hate. Syra didn't dodge this time. She swung. Solar flare, first cut. The blade passed through Alastair's arm. There was no resistance. It cut through the iron gauntlet, the hardened skin, the bone, and the muscle as if they were mist. Alastair's arm fell to the floor. Before blood could spill, the wound cauterized. Arg! Alastair stared at his stump in disbelief. My arm. Why isn't it healing? You can't heal, Ash, Syra stated coldly. She moved. She was no longer a blue blur. She was a flash of light. She appeared behind him. A slash across the back of his knees. Alastair fell. She appeared in front of him. A thrust through his shoulder. Alastair screamed. You rely on regeneration, Syra lectured, circling him. The heat radiating from her armor was turning the sand in the pit to glass. You got lazy. You stopped dodging because you knew you could heal. But against me, every hit is permanent. Alastair looked up, terror in his reptilian eyes. He was huge, powerful, a general of Dracula's army. But right now, kneeling in the glass pit, he looked small. Wait, Alastair pleaded, raising his remaining hand. I surrender. I can serve you. I have strength. Syra stopped. The visor of her helmet faded, revealing her face. Her eyes were burning with cold fury. My friends are fighting upstairs, she said softly. They are trusting me to handle the trash. She raised a massive sword of light above her head. The halo behind her spun, gathering mana from the very air. The room turned white. Ultimate art. Supernova execution. She brought the blade down. It wasn't a cut. It was an erasure. A pillar of solar fire engulfed Alastair. He didn't even have time to scream. His iron gauntlets vaporized. His bones turned to dust. His shadow was burned into the wall behind him. The explosion blew the heavy iron doors off their hinges. When the light faded, there was nothing left of the general, only a scorch mark on the floor. The golden armor flickered. That's... Syra gasped. The light shattered. The armor dissolved into sparks. Syra fell to her knees, her hair fading back to pink. She caught herself on her hands, vomiting clear liquid. Her mana was gone. Her stamina was negative. The pain in her broken ribs returned tenfold. That's... She whispered. She looked toward the stairs leading to the third floor. She tried to stand, but her legs refused to listen. She collapsed onto her side, the heat of the room slowly fading into a chill. Izuku, Alice, she murmured, her vision tunneling. Don't lose. The stairs to the third floor were long and winding. Izuku and Alice ran in silence. The stone walls around them vibrated with the force of the battle raging below. Intense heat drafted up the stairwell, carrying the roar of blue flames and the crash of shattering obsidian. She's holding him, Izuku said, glancing back into the sweltering darkness. Alastair's a monster, Alice said, gripping her dress. But Syra, she burns brighter than I expected. We have to keep moving, Izuku said, turning his eyes to the path ahead. They reached the top of the stairs. There were no doors here, just an archway leading into darkness. Wait. Izuku stopped Alice before she could enter. Too quiet. Silas, Alice whispered. The Lancer. He was always the silent type. She stepped through the archway. The third floor was different. It wasn't a fighting pit or a grand hall. It was a library. Massive bookshelves lined the walls, filled with ancient tomes. In the center of the room sat a grand organ. A figure sat at the organ, his back to them. He wore a long coat and a wide-brimmed hat. A long spear rested against the bench. He was playing music, a haunting, melancholic melody that seemed to weep. Silas, Alice said. The music stopped. The figure stood up slowly. He turned. He was handsome in a sharp, dangerous way, with pale skin and long dark hair. But his eyes were empty. Lady Alice, Silas said. He bowed low. I have waited 500 years to apologize. Apologize? Alice asked, stepping forward. You poisoned me, Silas. You helped him seal me. I did, Silas admitted. He picked up his spear. The weapon hummed with a dark, cursed energy. I had no choice. Nicholas! He held my heart, literally. He opened his coat. Where his heart should have been, there was a hole. A dark crystal pulsed in the cavity. He controls me, Silas said sadly. He controls us all. I cannot let you pass, my lady, even though I wish for nothing more than for you to kill him. He spun the spear. Izuku, Alice said, her voice hard. What? Izuku looked at her. Alice shook her head. Dracula is just beyond this room. If we fight Silas together, we waste time. And every second Nicholas has to prepare is a second closer to our defeat. She looked at Izuku. I need to face Nicholas alone. It has to be me. But I cannot fight Silas and save my strength for King. Izuku understood. Badur took the first floor. Saira took the second. You want me to take the third? Izuku said. He is the strongest of the three, Alice warned. He is fast. Faster than you. Can you hold him? Izuku summoned his scythe. He looked at the Lancer, checking the stats. Entity, Silas, General of the third floor. Level, 110. Status, Cursed Puppet. Go! Izuku said, stepping between Alice and the General. I'll keep him busy. Alice nodded. She didn't look back. She sprinted past Silas, heading for the final door at the back of the library. Silas moved to intercept, his spear thrusting forward like a viper strike. Clang. Izuku blocked it with his scythe. The impact rattled his teeth, sliding him back 5 feet, but he held the line. Your opponent, Izuku grunted, his eyes glowing with dark energy, is the Grim Reaper. Alice disappeared through the door. Izuku stood alone in the library against the strongest general. Very well, Silas said, his expression mournful. Let us dance, boy, until one of us breaks.